He shoved his phone in my face. "You're banned from my firm's gala. Got it?" I smiled, wired a 7-figure sum, and booked the front row VIP table, quietly engraving the chair plaque, CEO. As the chandeliers blazed in the Grand Lumora Hotel, he had no clue the woman behind the controlling fund was the wife he'd just insulted. When the mic went live, I wasn't just taking the seat he worshipped. I was pulling the whole curtain down with me. My name is Riley Dawson. I am 31 years old, and for the last 3 years, I have been the wife of Evan Holt. From the floor-to-ceiling windows of our Denver penthouse, I can watch the Rockies shift from slate gray to molten amber, a calm, predictable horizon. My life, by design, has looked the same. Most days I'm just a woman in cashmere loungewear, laptop warm on my thighs, managing what my husband dismisses as a few family portfolios. I am quiet, I am unassuming, and according to Evan, I am profoundly unsuited for the world he's desperate to conquer. Evan is a rising star at Apex Transit. He lives on that phrase, breathes it like oxygen. Apex is a titan of logistics technology, a behemoth of AI-driven infrastructure that is literally reshaping how cities move. Evan works in corporate external relations, a job that seems to involve endless dinners, handshakes, and gleaming, insincere smiles. He is handsome, sharp, and has mastered the art of appearing indispensable. This Friday is the annual Apex Black and White Gala, the social and corporate event of the season. At the Grand Lumora Hotel in downtown Denver. It's the one night the entire executive board, major investors, and the city's political elite all breathe the same filtered air. And apparently, I will not be joining them. He brought it up on a Tuesday evening, the city lights just flickering on below us. He stood in front of the antique gilded mirror in our foyer, adjusting the knot on a new silk tie. He wasn't even practicing for the gala. It was just a regular Tuesday. Ambition for Evan is a full-time performance. "About the gala, Rye," he said, voice casual, eyes fixed on his own reflection. "I think it's better if you sit this one out." I looked up from my laptop. I just finalized a capital injection for a new biotech venture in Stockholm. Sit it out? Why? He finally turned and gave me that look, half pity, half exasperation. The look of a man explaining a complex theorem to a house pet. "Darling, it's not really your scene, it's a power network. The conversations are very specific. You'd be bored." "Bored," I echoed, letting the screen dim. "And honestly," he continued, strolling over, "your style, it's lovely for here." He gestured around our minimalist, architect-designed living room. "But it's not Apex. These people are refined. It's a certain level of sophistication, an understanding of the game. You just haven't been exposed to it." I, who had been raised on strategy at boardroom tables, disguised as family dinners, had not been exposed to it. "So you're going alone?" I asked. My voice was perfectly flat. No emotion, never react, just gather data. This was the moment. He took a breath, puffing himself up. "Actually, no. Sierra Reed is going to accompany me." Sierra Reed, his college girlfriend, the woman who had reappeared 6 months ago as a strategic consultant on a short-term contract. A contract Evan himself had pushed through. The woman whose name had started appearing on late-night expense reports and shared calendars. "Sierra," I said. "As my networking partner," he corrected instantly, tone sharp. "She understands the players. She's been prepping the Arctic Roots team, and this is the crucial moment to solidify that relationship. We need to present a totally unified, deeply integrated front. It's strategic, Riley, purely strategic. He was using his meeting voice on me, the one full of empty, important-sounding words. I closed my laptop. My life is a carefully constructed facade. I work from home. I drive a respectable but not flashy electric sedan. I contribute the correct amount to our joint account, enough to cover groceries and my designer hobbies, but never enough to raise questions. My family money, the real money, the kind that doesn't just buy luxury but creates it, is buried so deep in a labyrinth of trusts holding companies and anonymous LLCs that my own husband has no idea. He thinks my parents were just comfortable Midwest lawyers. He has no clue. What Evan Holt, my ambitious, handsome, foolish husband, does not know is that Apex Transit is mine. He doesn't know that Blue Crest Holdings, the opaque, unassailable entity that owns the 58% controlling stake in his company, is not a board of gray-haired men in Zurich. It's me, Riley Dawson, the quiet, unrefined wife he thinks would be bored by his important conversations. I didn't just invest in Apex, I incubated it from a single brilliant idea, placed its public-facing CEO, Grayson Pierce, in his chair, and designed the very corporate structure Evan is now trying to climb. He doesn't know that the Arctic Roots deal Sierra is consulting on is a deal I personally greenlit from this very couch, wearing these very sweatpants. I sat there watching him. It was fascinating in a cold, academic way, like observing a lab rat who thought it was a lion. He was in full pinstripe now, adjusting the cuffs of his $1,000 shirt, warming to his topic. He was already wearing the tuxedo he'd had custom made. He'd been trying it on every night for a week. He reached for the bottle of cologne on his dresser, the rare, custom-blended scent I'd given him for our 3rd anniversary, and misted it generously into the air, walking through the cloud. "You see, Rye," he said, the scent of cedarwood and aged bourbon filling the room. "This is the big one. This gala isn't about just showing up. It's about arriving. Everyone who matters will be there. And when I walk in with Sierra, it signals that I'm serious, that I'm part of the inner circle." He sat on the edge of the ottoman, leaning in, voice dropping to that awful, patronizing softness. "I'm saying this for your own good. You're wonderful, but you're not cut out for that level. You're too gentle. You'd get eaten alive." He paused, searching for the killing blow that would finalize the argument and make him the good guy. "Frankly, Rye, in that environment, you would be an embarrassment, and I can't risk that. Not now." He smiled as if he'd just done me a kindness. "It's better for everyone if you just stay home. It's safer for you." An embarrassment. Safer for me. A hot, sharp-edged thing pricked at the base of my skull. The wife in me wanted to scream, to hurl the baccarat crystal glass straight at that perfect mirrored wall. The woman in me wanted to cry, to point out that the shirt on his back and the roof over his head were paid for by the very person he was dismissing. But the wife and the woman were no longer in charge. The investor was. I did not move. I did not raise my voice. I gave him a small, tight nod. "I understand, Evan. You need to do what's best for your career." He beamed, relief flooding his features. He had his permission. He hadn't had a fight. He leaned in and kissed my forehead. "Thank you for understanding, darling. See, this is why we work." He checked his watch. "I've got to hop on a prep call with Sierra. We're gaming out the seating chart." He grabbed his blazer and was gone, the click of the door echoing in the cavernous, silent penthouse. I sat there for a full minute, listening to the hum of the air filtration system. An embarrassment, a liability. I opened my laptop. The screen glowed to life, illuminating a complex dashboard of global assets, stock tickers, and secure communication channels. I brought up a new window and typed the name of the Grand Lumora's events director, a woman I'd poached for them from a rival hotel chain 3 years ago. Evan was a line item that had just turned toxic, a speculative investment that had failed to mature. And when an asset underperforms so spectacularly, you don't get emotional. You don't scream and you don't cry. You don't react. You reevaluate the market. You price the position. You hedge your losses. And then, when the market is thinnest, when the lights are brightest and all eyes are on the board, you execute a controlled liquidation. I typed a message, active priority. I need the Gala floor plan, the final guest list, the name of your head of security, and I need to acquire the central VIP table, the one next to the stage, all of it, tonight. I looked at Evan's cologne bottle still sitting on the dresser. The scent of it, of him, was an insult. He was right. This gala wasn't about just showing up. It was about arriving. Evan's words echoed in the silence of my penthouse long after he'd left. Embarrassment, safer for you. He painted me in watercolors, all soft edges and gentle pastels, someone to be protected from the sharp, oil-painted world he inhabited. He had no idea I was the canvas, the pigment, and the unseen artist. He thought I was new money at best, or more likely just comfortable. He was wrong. I am old, quiet, Rocky Mountain strategy. I wasn't raised in a penthouse overlooking Central Park. I grew up in a sprawling brick ranch house in suburban Colorado Springs, where the winters were brutal and the expectations higher. My mother was a partner at a corporate law firm specializing in mergers and acquisitions. My father was a senior aerospace engineer. Our dinner table conversations weren't gossip. They were quiet debates about hostile takeovers and tensile strength. The wealth, the real foundational wealth, wasn't ours directly. It sat in a family trust managed by my grandfather. He wasn't a titan of industry. He was just smart. He'd invested heavily in a small revolutionary medical device company in the early 1990s. When that company was acquired in a massive deal, the trust multiplied overnight, turning a comfortable life into a dynastic one. I was taught 2 things. First, how to build wealth. Second, how to protect it. I earned my MBA from the University of Chicago Booth, graduating in the top 5% of my class. I could have put my name on a skyscraper, but I tried that once, right after graduation. At 25, I launched a small venture capital fund under my own name. I was young, female, and had access to 9 figures of capital. It was a disaster. At pitch meetings, men who had inherited their grandfather's cufflinks would listen, smile, and say, "That's a very ambitious idea, dear." They'd ask my male junior analysts the hard questions about burn rate and valuation. I was a novelty, a socialite with a spreadsheet. My successes were attributed to luck. My failures were proof of my gender. I learned a brutal lesson. Power and visibility are not the same thing. In fact, for a woman like me, they are often mutually exclusive. The world is terrified of a young woman with real, unassailable power. They will do anything to diminish it, to call it luck, to attribute it to a father or a husband. So I made a choice. They wanted to see a man in charge. Fine, I would give them one. I dissolved the public fund and moved my operations into the shadows. I found a brilliant, struggling logistics AI concept buried in a university lab. the key to solving last-mile delivery in dense urban centers. I bought the patents anonymously. I incubated the company, pouring in capital, talent, and my own strategic guidance from behind a wall of lawyers. I created Apex Transit, then found Grayson Pierce. Grayson was the perfect public face, late 50s, silver-haired, booming voice, impeccable resume. A brilliant operator who had hit a ceiling at his old firm. I approached him through a proxy, offering him the CEO position at a company that didn't yet publicly exist. I offered him triple his current salary and the chance to build a legacy. His one condition. Who is the benefactor? I don't work for a ghost. We met at a secure, neutral location. I laid out the structure, the plan, and my expectations. He was silent for a long time. Then he smiled. "You're not a ghost," he said. "You're a general, and you just want a field marshal who isn't afraid to get his suit dirty." He understood the game. We built the fortress together. The ownership structure of Apex is my masterpiece of corporate law, designed to be impenetrable. The controlling 58% is held by a holding company, owned by another, controlled by a portfolio of LLCs. At the very top of the pyramid, the final word, the hand on the kill switch, is Blue Crest Holdings. Blue Crest is my armor. Its charter is absolute. Its directives are final. And its benefactor is known to precisely 3 people: me, Grayson Pierce, and my family's 70-year-old estate lawyer, who has known me since I wore pigtails. To the rest of the world, Blue Crest is a faceless institutional force, based in Zurich or the Caymans. To Evan, it's just the whale that signs his paychecks. I run my company through a bespoke encrypted dashboard. I see every projection, every internal memo, every access log. I am the eye in the sky, and they are all playing on my board. For years it was enough. The work was clean, the control absolute. I had anonymity, but I was isolated. Then I met Evan. It was at an art fundraiser, one of those events I attended simply as Riley Dawson guest. He wasn't a donor. He was working the room for his old PR firm. I was studying a painting when he came up beside me. He didn't use a pickup line. He just said, "I think I'm supposed to be impressed by this, but honestly, I just see a bunch of angry rectangles." I laughed, a real, genuine laugh. We talked for an hour, then 2. He was charming, funny, and refreshingly honest about his own ambition. He talked about hating the brag in his industry, how tired he was of people who judged everyone by their connections or their watch. He seemed to see me, not a trust fund, not a name, just Riley. He asked questions. He listened. He never scanned the room. We were married at City Hall 8 months later. Simple, beautiful, followed by dinner for 30 of our closest friends. My lawyers insisted on a prenuptial agreement. I was terrified. This would be the moment the magic broke. The moment he saw the cold, hard numbers, and I became just another target. I slid the thick binder across our kitchen table, hands trembling. "It's just a formality," I stammered. "My family has some complicated trusts. It's to protect both of us." Evan looked at the cover, looked at me, and laughed, a warm, easy laugh that filled the room. "Riley, darling, I'm bringing about $15,000 in a 401k and a car with a lien on it. If anything, you need protection from my student debt." He flipped to the last page and signed without reading a clause. His casual signature was, at the time, the most romantic thing I'd ever seen. He didn't care. He proved it. I see now how wrong I was. I was so relieved he wasn't a gold digger. I never considered he might be something far more dangerous, a status hunter. He didn't care about my money because he didn't know it existed. He just wanted a platform. When he landed the job at Apex, a job I quietly flagged for Grayson, saying only, "My husband is applying. Treat him fairly." I thought his ambition was cute. I thought his pride and rising star status were admirable. I was proud of him, proud to be his supportive, quiet, unrefined wife. I thought I'd found the one man who saw me, not my assets. I was wrong. I had found a man looking for a ladder, any ladder. And he didn't care who was holding it. He was so busy climbing, so focused on the next rung, he never once thought to look down. He thinks I'm an embarrassment. He thinks I'm the anchor weighing him down. When all this time, I've been the one holding the rope. He signed that prenup to protect his meager savings. Blissfully unaware, he had just signed away any claim to the empire he was sleeping next to. He thought he was protecting himself. He has no idea. He was the first and last emotional mistake my portfolio ever made. The first crack appeared not as a sound, but as an email. 6 months ago, Grayson Pierce forwarded me the final candidates for the Arctic Roots Strategic Consultancy. The Arctic Roots deal was a monster, a potential 9-figure contract to integrate our AI into their entire North American shipping network. It was the deal that would make Apex untouchable. And there on the short list was Sierra Reed. Evan, who never showed interest in my little portfolios, suddenly had an opinion. He leaned over my laptop, enthusiasm bright and artificial. "Sierra Reed, that's incredible. I knew her in college. She's a connector, Rye, a total rainmaker. You guys have to hire her." I, the controlling shareholder, said nothing. Grayson, over a secure video call, raised an eyebrow. "She seems a bit light on logistics tech. Don't you think, Riley?" "I think she's a connector," I replied, voice flat. "Give her the short-term contract. Let's see what kind of rain she makes." The rain came quickly. Late-night strategy sessions at the office. Client dinners that ran past midnight. Evan, who had always texted me "good night, love," began to change. Texts became functional. "Still at office, working dinner. Don't wait up." The emojis vanished first. The little red heart he always put after his name was the first casualty. Then love and darling evaporated, replaced by chilling corporate efficiency. I was no longer his wife. I was his administrative burden. 2 months ago, I was at an adjacent cafe table, meeting one of my biotech founders when I overheard a group of Apex marketing guys. "Vale is a rocket," one said, "and he's smart, hitched himself to the right wagon." "You mean Sierra?" another asked. "Who else? She's got the board's ear. She's the gatekeeper for the Arctic deal. Mark my words, at the gala, get a picture of Evan and Sierra together. She's not just a consultant, she's the door." He hitched himself to the right wagon, and I was apparently the wrong one. The real break, the one that shattered the facade, happened last week over dinner. One of those rare nights he was home before 10. He was electric, buzzing with manic energy that had nothing to do with me. "The Arctic team is finally seeing the light," he announced, pouring himself a generous glass of wine I'd paid $300 for. "We've been stuck on projections, but I think Sierra and I finally broke through." "What's the sticking point?" I asked, pushing salad around my plate. He waved his fork dismissively. "Oh, it's just details: valuation, modeling, market penetration forecasts, capital expenditure, amortization, you know." He gave me that soft, pitying smile. "Honestly, Rye, it would just bore you. You'd be totally out of your depth." I stared at him. I who had built the valuation model for this company from scratch. I who had personally stress-tested the capex projections against 3 different market downturn scenarios. I who had set the final number for the Arctic bid was out of my depth. I smiled. You're right, Evan. It sounds terribly complicated. That night, for the first time in our marriage, I did not go to bed. I went to my office, closed the solid oak door, and sat in the dark. The wife was gone. The investor was back. I opened my secure encrypted portal, the God view of Apex Transit. It's not just financials, it's keycard access logs, email server flags, network security protocols. I ran a search. Evan Holt access logs, past 90 days. He was clean, only accessed what his job required. New search, Sierra Reed access logs, past 90 days. Her logs were a Christmas tree of red flags. She was in R&D projections, unannounced international expansion plans, the sealed Arctic Routes negotiation framework, the file containing our final offer and absolute lowest walkaway number. Then I cross-referenced IP addresses. Her credentials were being used, but not always from her laptop. They were being used from an IP I recognized, Evans. He was using her login to browse, steal, gather intelligence, make himself look essential. He was taking my company's crown jewels and using them as party favors to impress his old girlfriend. The room went cold. The betrayal was so clean, so absolute. It was almost beautiful in its awfulness. Then my secure line, the one that bypasses all switchboards, buzzed with an encrypted call. Grayson, voice grim. Riley, we have a problem, a big one. I know, I said, eyes still on the glowing red logs. He's using her credentials. Sharp intake of breath. It's worse. We just got a ping from one of our algorithmic tripwires. A portion of our core commercial terms for the Arctic deal just showed up in a data packet from a shell server in Latvia. Blood turned to ice. Who? Server is anonymous, but the trail leads to only one place, our main competitor, Orion Peak Systems. Orion Peak, the one company that could truly hurt us. The competitor Arctic Routes was also in talks with. If they got our numbers, they could undercut us by $1 and win the contract. Evan wasn't just cheating. He and Sierra were a leak, a catastrophic, company-killing leak. Whether for malice, money, or ego-driven thrill, didn't matter. This changes the Gala, I said. My voice was no longer human. It was the sound of a closing vault. This isn't an embarrassment. This is a threat. What are you thinking? Grayson asked. I'm thinking like an auditor, I said, fingers flying across the keyboard. I was already in the R&D file directory they'd been so interested in. Activating emergency protocol, I pulled up a new document, a mop in our internal speak, a fake file designed to look real. Grayson, create a new version of the Arctic presentation, Final V9. Fill it with slightly altered projections, tempting but ultimately flawed. Embed an invisible, trackable digital watermark in every slide. Different watermark for every file, tied to a specific user's access. One for Evan, one for Sierra, one for you, one for me. The bait, Grayson said, voice hard. Got it. Place it in the main directory. Make it look like a mistake, like a junior tech left permissions open. When one of them takes it, the watermark pings us the second it's opened outside our firewall, I said. And it will tell us exactly which file was leaked and by whom. I closed the laptop. Evan was asleep, snoring softly in our bed. The man I had loved, the man I had trusted, was a corporate vulnerability, a liability I had to liquidate. He had told me I was banned from the Gala. He had no idea. He thought he was protecting his career from his unrefined wife. He was wrong. I wasn't banned. I was the proprietor. And the gala, I decided in that cold, dark room, would be the perfect stage. It would be the quarterly earnings call, the shareholder meeting, and the execution, all rolled into one. I would let him walk in with her. I would let him smile for the cameras. Because the Arctic Roots deal hadn't been signed yet, and before it was, I had to take out the trash. The decision to use the gala as the execution stage was made at 3:15 a.m. By 9 a.m., I had assembled a clean team, my personal payroll, not Apex. Lawyers and investigators who handle Blue Crest's most sensitive acquisitions. Their discretion is absolute. I convened the meeting on a secure, end-to-end encrypted video platform. No one knew where the others were dialing in from. "Good morning," I said, voice crisp. "We have an active internal threat at a majority-held asset, codenamed Apex. We are moving to containment and liquidation. I need a full legal and operational package ready for deployment in 72 hours. Go." First call, legal team. I need Sierra Reed's consulting agreement reviewed. Every clause, subsection, punctuation. Less interested in performance, more in conflict of interest. The lead counsel, Mara, didn't blink. Understood. And the signatory who approved the contract, Evan Holt, External Relations. I need his signature authority, cross-referenced against all internal HR protocols. Suspicion he bypassed standard legal review to fast-track her hiring. If he did, Mara said, voice like ice, her contract is voidable on its face, and his actions constitute severe procedural violation. Answer in 3 hours. She had it in 2. Evan had pushed Sierra's contract through using an outdated legacy approvals form, bypassing mandatory conflict of interest disclosure. He had personally signed off. Her contract was built on sand, and Evan had held the shovel. With the legal vulnerability confirmed, I moved to operational planning. This was no longer personal betrayal. It was risk management. I laid out 2 main branches. Scenario Alpha, primary path. The digital watermark is triggered. We get positive confirmation of leak to Orion Peak. If this happens, we move to immediate, public termination on site at the gala. Contain the breach, send an unmistakable message. Scenario Bravo, the operations lead asked. If they're smart, if they suspect a trap and the bait file is never touched, we have no public proof. We pivot. Gala speech is altered. I announce a new strategic review of the Arctic Partnership, sidelining Sierra. We use the contract violations to terminate her quietly Monday morning. Evan is demoted, access restricted, managed out over the next quarter. Bravo was clean, quiet corporate solution. Alpha was nuclear. I was betting on their arrogance. Arrogance always takes the bait. While legal and digital traps were set, I handled event, logistics. I called the Grand Lemora's director of events directly. "Dahlia, it's Riley Dawson, last-minute high-priority request for the Apex Gala." "Ms. Dawson," her voice warmed instantly. "A pleasure. What do you need?" "Your best table, the central stagefront VIP table, the one Grayson Pierce usually hosts." Slight pause. "That table is the CEO's table, already assigned to Mr. Pierce and core team." "I understand. I am now unassigning it. I am acquiring it. Sponsorship upgrade. Send the invoice for whatever it costs. Add 20% for the hotel's discretion. The plaque will not read Apex. It will read Riley Dawson, Principal, Blue Crest Holdings." Silence. Then, "Yes, Ms. Dawson, consider it done. Principal, PRINCIPAL. "It is." For the next hour, I coordinated with my private security chief and the hotel's head of security. 3 of my people, 2 men, 1 woman, embedded in black tie staff, wearing state-of-the-art, legally compliant body cams streaming to a secure server. I want the ballroom access card system synced to our server, I told my chief. Ability to deactivate guest credentials from my phone instantly. We'll set up a geofence. The moment their credentials are red flagged, they won't even be able to call the elevator. Good. Names: Evan Holt and Sierra Reed. Noted. With the venue secured, I turned to the audience. This couldn't just be execution. It had to be demonstration of control. I drafted 3 anonymous invitations on heavy cardstock, sent by private courier to the personal residences of the 3 largest institutional shareholders in Apex after Blue Crest. The note was simple. Your investment in Apex Transit is about to face a critical governance test. I suggest you be in the Grand Lumora Ballroom Friday at 9 p.m. A demonstration of proactive auditing will be given. A fellow investor, they would come. Sharks smell blood. Next, the speech. Apex was slated to win the Urban Mobility Prize, a PR award Grayson was supposed to accept. He would still accept it, but he would yield the floor to me. I spent an afternoon writing the speech, corporate doublespeak, layered with legal meaning. It started with praise, AI, ethics, transparency. Then the pivot, but transparency is not a slogan. It is a non-negotiable metric. It is the firewall that protects our data, our partners, and our shareholders. And when that firewall is breached, whether by malice or negligence, our response must be absolute. As the principal investor and founder of Apex Transit, I have authorized a full and immediate restructure of any leadership element that fails to meet that standard. A declaration of war disguised as policy. Finally, one last trap, a psychological one. My tech team activated a new, completely anonymous whistleblower hotline and sent a company-wide email ostensibly for ethical concerns. In reality, a honeypot. I knew Evan and Sierra. If they sensed walls closing in, their first instinct wouldn't be to come clean. It would be to get ahead of the story, plant disinformation, frame Grayson or a junior employee. The hotline was not anonymous. It logged keystrokes, IP addresses, exact submissions. A self-incrimination machine. By Thursday night, 24 hours before the gala, all pieces were in place. I was in the kitchen drinking water when my secure phone buzzed. One-line alert from Grayson, ping, Alpha Scenario Live. Watermark 04, Sierra, and 05, Evan, just accessed and forwarded to IP resolving to Orion Peak server. They had taken the bait, both of them. I looked at my reflection in the dark window. Evan was in the other room whistling, getting his tux steamed. So excited for his big night. I set my glass down and sent the final command to my security chief. Trigger. Activate termination sequence. The moment the MC says Apex Transit, they are locked out everywhere. The day of the gala, I did not dress. I armored. Evan had left hours earlier, giddy to run logistics with Sierra. The penthouse was blissfully quiet. I left the gentle dresses Evan approved of in the closet. I chose a gown of stark black, minimalist, almost severe, long sleeves, high neck. The only statement was the back, a sharp, aggressive plunge of architecture against the fabric. A dress that did not ask permission. I did not wear the delicate jewelry Evan sometimes bought me. I went to the vault and retrieved my mother's pieces, items he had never seen. A heavy gold cuff that was almost a gauntlet, matching earrings with emeralds so dark they were nearly black, surrounded by old mine-cut diamonds. Heritage, ballast, power without a logo. When I fastened the clasp, it felt like locking a weapon into place. The Grand Lumora was a symphony of manufactured importance. The ballroom a cavern of blinding white and reflective surfaces. Acres of white damask linen, towering arrangements of white lilies and orchids scented the air with cloying sweetness. Mirrored walls doubled the crowd, made everyone feel watched from 1,000 angles. My table, Table 1, was a geographic impossibility. It was practically on the stage, the center of the center, a command post. The engraved plaque was simple: Riley Dawson, Principal, Blue Crest Holdings. Evan's table, Table 4, was excellent, prime VIP, but distinctly off-center, angled away from the podium. A subtle message of hierarchy for those who could read the map. I was seated, champagne in hand, when I saw them arrive. They made an entrance, Evan immaculate in his custom tuxedo, face flushed with excitement, hand firmly on the bare back of Sierra Reed's glittering silver-sequined gown. The antithesis of mine, loud, screaming for attention. They paused at the sponsorship wall for photos. He's pulled her close, whispered something. They laughed for the cameras. Then he worked the room, Sierra in tow, shaking hands, clapping backs, eyes scanning, assessing. Looking for the CEO, board members, politicians. He looked right at my table. His gaze passed over me, through me, beyond. I was a dark-clad woman at a table, no different from any other. Furniture. The unrefined wife he had successfully banned and safely left at home. He did not see me. He did not recognize me. The lack of recognition was almost liberating. He hadn't just insulted me, he had erased me from his reality. A silent vibration from the secure phone in my clutch. Message from Grayson. Screenshot of Orion Peak's internal interface. Our bait file sitting in a temp review folder. Time-stamped 2 hours ago. They had been so eager to prove worth to the competitor, they sent it before the gala even began. Scenario Alpha was in full effect. I raised my head and took a slow sip of champagne. It tasted like victory. Across the room I saw Mara, head of my private legal team, in a simple black suit near a service entrance, holding a slim leather portfolio. Termination documents, breach notices, restraining order. Our eyes met. I gave a single slow nod. She disappeared through the service door to our operational green room. The lights dimmed, jazz faded, a local news anchor strode on stage. Welcome to the Apex Transit Black and White Gala. He launched into his monologue about data, speed, and, ironically, trustworthiness. Tonight's theme, integrity. I almost smiled. A cold, tight smile that would have terrified Evan if he'd seen it. Integrity was about to have a very specific, very public face. I saw the 2 journalists I had accidentally invited, most feared financial reporters in the city, at a prime guest table I'd arranged. They checked their seating chart, frowned, looked at my plaque. Eyebrows shot up. They recognized Blue Crest Holdings. They opened notebooks. The show was about to begin. I glanced at Evan. He was beaming, filming Sierra clinking glasses, then turning the phone on himself. Serious business face for his Instagram story. Ready for the big night. The future is bright. His arrogance was a searchlight pointed directly at himself. This was the thinnest point in the market. I opened the thread with Grayson and typed one word. Begin. The synchronized ballet of catering staff cleared salads and placed filet mignon. At table 4, a subtle swap. The place card that should have read Grayson Pierce, CEO, was quietly replaced by one of my embedded security team. It now read Riley Dawson, Principal. Grayson, flanked by the 2 major institutional shareholders I had invited, began walking toward his table, paused, saw my name, looked across the ballroom at me, and smiled broadly. He understood his cue. He did not sit. Instead, he gestured to the shareholders and changed course. CEO and 2 most important investors, walking publicly across the floor to my table. Evan had been tracking Grayson like a hawk. He saw the procession, saw his boss divert from his own CEO's seat and head toward me, his wife. Confusion became a physical slack-jawed stare. "What's he doing?" Evan muttered. Grayson arrived, projecting power. "Riley," he said loudly enough for adjacent tables to hear. "A pleasure. Seems there's a mix-up. Your place card is at my table, in the seat of honor. I insist you take it." He was performing brilliantly, publicly abdicating his own chair for me. "That's not necessary, Grayson," I said, playing my part. "I absolutely insist." Then to the baffled shareholders, "Marcus, Elizabeth, allow me to introduce Riley Dawson, our most significant senior patron, the very definition of quiet power at Apex." "Patron," Evan whispered 10 feet away. He looked struck. Sierra put a manicured hand on his forearm, nails digging in. "Relax," she hissed, smile brittle. "He just means she's a donor. She probably bought the table." But her eyes were on my cuff, then my ears, the dark emeralds. She knew Dynasty when she saw it. Her bravado faltered, right on schedule. Evan's pocket buzzed. He pulled out his phone, tapped, frowned, tapped harder. Red banner, access denied. Credentials suspended due to unusual activity. "What the hell?" he muttered. "Wi-Fi in this place is garbage." Sierra's phone lit up on the table. Priority email from David Lau, procurement head at Arctic Routes. "We are in receipt of conflicting data. The presentation you provided differs substantially from a deck just received from Orion Peak Systems. Negotiations paused pending verification of data breach. Do not contact us." All color drained from her face. "I have to make a call," Evans stammered, standing, pushing his chair back with a scrape. "I really wouldn't," I said calmly, conversationally. He froze halfway up, turned, eyes wide with disbelief. "Riley," he choked, "you're not supposed to be here." "You should sit down, Evan," I said, offering a small, cold smile. "The main event is about to begin. You wouldn't want to miss the big announcement, would you?" The 2 journalists were already standing, press credentials dangling. "Ms. Dawson," the Wall Street Journal reporter asked, "are you in fact the principal of Blue Crest Holdings?" Evan heard the name, Blue Crest Holdings, the faceless god that owned the company. He went pale. "I am," I said, never breaking eye contact with the reporter. "And tonight's events will be very illuminating for your next column on corporate governance." The MC brightened. "And now, the award for urban mobility," drum roll. "And the winner is Apex Transit." Applause. "To accept the award, please welcome Grayson Pierce." Applause swelled, but Grayson was not there. Then Grayson's voice boomed from backstage. "Thank you, but tonight, the honor belongs to the true visionary behind Apex, the woman who founded this company and remains its controlling shareholder." Spotlight died on the podium. A new blinding spotlight snapped onto table 1, onto me. The MC, nervous, read a new card. "To accept the award for Apex Transit, please welcome Riley Dawson, founder and principal, Blue Crest Holdings." A single sharp pop of displaced air as the light hit me. Then silence, deep, absolute silence. 2,000 eyes turned. I stood, chair scraped the floor, echoing. I placed my napkin neatly on the table. Evan was half standing, mouth open, face bloodless. Sierra's champagne flute slipped from her fingers, tipped, spilled across the linen, a spreading golden stain. I walked the 50 feet to the stage, the click of my heels the only sound. Grayson handed me the heavy glass award, gave a brief, respectful nod, stepped back. I placed the award on the podium, adjusted the microphone. "Thank you," I said, voice calm, filling every corner of the room. "It is an honor to accept the Urban Mobility Prize on behalf of the entire team at Apex Transit, the innovators, engineers, logisticians who truly earned this." Pause. Tonight's theme is integrity. Convenient word, easy to put on a banner. I tapped the podium. But integrity isn't a theme. It is a non-negotiable asset, the core code that makes everything else work. I scanned the front tables, letting them feel my gaze. All partnerships are built on trust, bright lines of ethical conduct, and the absolute sanctity of data. I leaned in. Apex, under my direction, has one single non-negotiable rule: you do not steal from the house. Nervous titter died instantly. There has been a lot of talk about power tonight. Power isn't who you arrive with. It is not the table you sit at. It is not the name you drop. My eyes flicked to table 4. Evan's chest rose and fell in shallow, rapid breaths. Power is what you protect when no one is watching. I turned, gestured to the 40-foot LED screen. The Apex logo vanished. Gasps. A stark white screen appeared. Simple data flow chart. Left box, Apex Secure Server. Right box, Orion Peak Systems External IP. Thick red arrow connecting them. "This," I said, voice hardening, "is real-time data capture from 2 hours ago." Click. File name over the arrow. Arctic Projections Final V9. This file contains our entire final bid for the Arctic Routes contract. Pricing, margins, IP, everything. Click. Metadata. Accessed via S-Read consultant credentials. YMK004. Transmitted via E-Holt credentials. YMK005. Matched to Orion Peak. Server 100%. Vacuum silence. "I am not a fan of personal drama," I said, voice glacial. "I am here as founder and controlling shareholder to address a critical security breach and profound failure of corporate governance." I pulled a single sheet from the podium. "All employees and contractors sign an NDA and conflict of interest policy. I will read one section." I put on reading glasses. Theater devastating. "Any unauthorized transfer, sharing, or duplication of this material with an outside party, competitor or otherwise, will be considered material breach, resulting in immediate termination for cause and prosecution to the fullest extent of the law." I folded the paper, removed the glasses. As of 9:01 p.m., the moment this award was announced, the credentials of the 2 individuals responsible have been terminated. Access to all Apex systems, servers, and properties permanently revoked. Sierra let out a strangled sound. "And I am announcing, effective immediately, a full corporate restructuring. 1. The consulting contract of Sierra Reed is terminated for cause, material breach. 2. An emergency board meeting is called for 6 a.m. tomorrow to approve full audit and address ramifications. 3. An independent ethics committee is convened to review the External Relations Department, its leadership, and the profound conflict of interest that allowed this to happen." Roar of whispers. Evan's eyes were wild, searching for escape. Every camera pointed at the stage, and by reflection, at the man I had just annihilated. Evan lunged, bolted up the side steps, grabbed the secondary mic, hand shaking. "No," he shouted, voice cracking. "This is a lie, a misunderstanding." I did not flinch, kept eyes on the audience, pressed the remote in my hand. "A misunderstanding?" I asked calmly. "Let's look at the logs." Screen changed, black and white call log. Source, E. Holt Cellular. Target, ACOVAC, VP Orion Peak Systems. Last night, 11:18 p.m., duration 42 minutes. Just a 42-minute call at 11 p.m. to clear up the misunderstanding before it happened, I said. Evan stared, shocked. Sierra shrieked from her table. "He's lying. This is a setup. I had permission. Grayson Pike gave it to me." "Bold claim," I said pleasantly. "Let's check the receipts." Screen. Official-looking authorization form granting Sierra Level 3 access. Signed Grayson Pierce. Sierra pointed triumphantly. "See, he signed it." "He did," I agreed. "Or rather, his signature is there, but data has memory." Click. Red box around signature. Metadata expanded. File created 3 months ago. Original Q2 report, modified 6 days ago. Signature graphic lifted, pasted onto new document by user S. Reed. "You forged it," I said, "and didn't even scrub the metadata. Thank you for confirming." Gasp. Then a new voice, Marcus Vane, shareholder, on his feet. "I've been sitting on this for a month. Several investors received an anonymous poison pen email trying to smear Blue Crest's leadership, claiming the principal was unstable. We traced the IP luxury rental, West Loop, Unit 1405. Leaseholder, E. Holt." The room exploded. Evan turned on Sierra. "You sent that. You told me it was just research." Sierra shrieked back. "You pathetic coward. You told me to send it. You said we needed to plant the seed that she was incompetent." They incinerated each other live in front of the entire industry. I simply watched the assets liquidate. "One final piece of footage," I said, voice cutting through like diamond. Screen, black and white security feed, Grand Lumora lobby bar, 3 days ago. Sierra sliding a silver USB drive across the bar to the Orion Peak VP. Thick envelope sliding back. Transaction. Silence. Grayson stepped forward, voice grave. "This is a matter of profound legal consequence. Apex has retained independent external counsel. All evidence has been turned over. Criminal referral. Phones buzzed. Final kill switch. Access terminated. Sarah Jenkins, WSJ. Ms. Dawson, this is your husband. Is this a PR stunt?" "This is not public relations, Ms. Jenkins. This is a transparency report. We identified a vulnerability, isolated it, and removed it. Before signing a 9-figure contract, not after." Mara stepped from the shadows in severe black suit, portfolio in hand. "Good evening. To be clear, what you witnessed is the conclusion of an emergency audit. This is not a domestic dispute. This is corporate law." She listed the grounds: NDA violation, conflict of interest, conspiracy to commit corporate espionage, fraud. Evan stumbled off the stage, grabbed my arm. "Riley, please, this isn't you. We can fix this. She manipulated me." I pulled my arm free slowly. "We will not be speaking, Evan. My legal team will be in contact with yours. You should find one. And Evan," I added quietly, "take a look at our prenup, Section 4, absolute separation of premarital assets and all instruments held in trust, including growth. You were always so clear you wanted to be protected. You will leave this marriage with precisely what you brought into it. You are safe, just like you wanted me to be." Realization hit like a blow. He brought nothing. He would leave with nothing. Sierra tried to bargain with Grayson, offered to trade Orion Peak secrets for a deal. "Mara, we do not make deals. Your offer of cooperation is noted for the authorities. My secure phone buzzed. Text from David Lau at Arctic Roots. Impressed is not the word. Necessary, brutal, public cleansing. Faith in Apex integrity restored. My team will be in touch tomorrow. Deal saved. The journalists asked for quotes. You may quote all of it, I said, on condition you print the final 2 paragraphs on new governance standards in their entirety. No cuts. Done. The MC tried to salvage the evening. Jazz trio struck up Fly Me to the Moon. Grotesque. I held up one hand. Music faltered. One final piece of business, 60 seconds. I stepped down from the stage, walked directly to table 4, Evan's table. Sierra had already fled, a silver ghost toward the exit. Evan stood rooted, flanked by my security team. I walked past him as if invisible, went to the head of the table, the seat he had coveted. The place card still read, Riley Dawson, Principal. I pulled out the CEO's chair and sat. The fit was perfect. I placed the heavy glass award in the center where his plate had been. My centerpiece. I looked at the stunned shareholders. Tonight, I said, voice carrying without a mic, this chair, the chair at the head of this company, belongs to the person who protects Apex's values. It does not belong to the one who borrows it just to sell us out. I tapped my secure phone. As of this moment, I have electronically signed the directive. Dr. Eris Thorne is now Interim Chief Corporate Integrity Officer. Emergency board meeting confirmed 6 a.m. Be there. Security touched Evan's elbow. Time to go. He stopped 2 feet away, leaned down, voice thick with tears. Riley, I love you. I still love you. We can fix this. I did not look at him. No, Evan, I said quietly, conversationally, utterly final. The person you love is the chair, and you can't have it. A choked sob, and he was gone, escorted out. No one watched the exit. Across the room, Sierra paused at the archway one last second. Cameras found her. Flashes captured pure consequence. She vanished. Grayson stood, bowed his head to me in front of 2,000 people. I take full responsibility for the procedural failures that allowed this. We will reform, rebuild, and be stronger. This I pledge. The shareholders who had clapped for me now nodded for him. Tension broke, music swelled, new reality settling in. I lifted my untouched champagne. They lifted theirs. We didn't need words. The respect was back. The throne wasn't just sat in, it had been defended. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'm dying to know, where in the world are you listening from? Drop a comment below and let me know. Let's connect and share our thoughts. And if you love this, please subscribe to Olivia Revenge Stories, like this video, and support us by hitting that hype button so this story can be heard by even more people.